Subtitle B, Grants Administration, Section 202(1). Administration Coordination. A. Regional coordination. Administration shall ensure that all recipients of the grant administrate the Department to prevent and prepare and protect against, respond to natural disasters, acts of terrorism, other man-made disasters, excluding assistance provided under Section 203, Title 4, or Title 5 of the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency. Assistance Act 42 U.S. Standard Code 5133, 5178, Tenant Sequence 5191, and Tenant Sequence Coordination as appropriate for their prevention, preparedness, protection efforts in neighboring, state, local, or tribal governments, all high-risk urban areas, other recipients of the grants administrated in the Department of the Prevent and Prepare and further protect attempts to respond to natural disasters, anti-terrorism, other anti-terrorism, other man-made disasters, excluding assistance provided under Section 203, Title 4, Title 5, Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief Emergency Assistance Act 42 U.S. Standard Code 5133, 5170, Intent Sequence 50, and 5191, Intent Sequence, and including substantial effect parts are all more than one state coordinating appropriate across state boundaries, including where appropriate through the usual region working groups or requirement of regional plans. B. Planning committees established in general in each state of the high-risk urban area receiving a grant under Section 203 and 204 shall establish a planning committee to assist the preparation or revision of the state, regional, and local homeland security plan to assist determination affecting funding priorities or grants under the Section 203 and 204 composition A in general in the planning committee, and it shall include representative significant stakeholders including local tribal governments officials. 2. Emergency response providers, which shall include the representatives of the fire services, law enforcement, emergency medical response, emergency managers. Geographical representation. The members of the Planning Committee, the representative group individuals of the counties and cities and towns and Indian tribes of the state high-risk urban areas, including as appropriate representatives of rural, high population, high threat rate jurisdiction. Existing planning committees, nothing is subsection and may be constructed to require any state of the high-risk urban area create planning committee of that state the high-risk urban area establishes and uses multi-jurisdictional planning committee and commission that meets the requirements of this section and interagency coordination deadline in general not later than 12 months after the date of the enactment, implementing recommendations of 9/11 Commission Act 2007. The Secretary acted as the Administrator, the Attorney General, and the Secretary, providing assistance for the state, local, tribal governments, preventing, preparing, and protecting against and responding to natural disasters, acts of terrorism, and other man-made disasters, and shall jointly compile the comprehensive list of federal grant programs, state, local, and tribal governments, and preventing, and preparing, and protecting it against and responding to natural disasters, acts of terrorism, and other man-made disasters, complying with the planning, reporting, application, other requirements and guidance for the grant programs described in subparagraph A. See development recommendations as appropriate. 1. Eliminate redundant or duplicative requirements of state, local, and tribal governments, and including an onerous application, ongoing reporting requirements. 2. Ensuring accountability for their programs intending the purpose of such programs. 3. Coordination allocation of the grant funds to avoid duplicative and inconsistent purchases by the receipts. 4. Make the appropriate access and user-friendly to the applications and ensure the program and coordination enhance overall preparedness in nation. These information recommendations under subparagraph A, B, and C of appropriate committees in Congress and submission. E. The appropriate committees of Congress, Comptroller in general, any forces, any officers, employees of the government accountable office with the full access of any information collected and reviewed in preparing submissions under subparagraph D. Scope of tasking. Nothing in subsection shall authorize to eliminate and or alteration of purpose for those delineated by a state regulation guidance of any grant program. The existence of the date of the enactment and implementing recommendations from the 9/11 Commission Act of 2007 nor authorize review of the preparation of proposal of the culminating authorization of such purposes of any such program since the Congress is in the sense of Congress, in order to ensure that the national is not most effectively able to prepare for and protect against, respond to all high hazards, including natural disasters, acts of terrorism, and other made disasters. One, the department should administrate coherent coordination, both terrorism focused and all hazard grants. Two, there should be continuing appropriate balance between funding and terrorism focus and all hazard prepared and reflective authorization appropriation for the grants and under the amendments to the Title 2, 1 and 2 and applicables of the implementing recommendations of the 9/11 Commission Act of 2007. And 3, with respect to terrorism focus and grants is necessary to ensure but target capabilities at the high risk areas achieved and quickly to basic levels are prepared and are measured by the attainment of the target capabilities are achieved nationwide. Section 2022 accountability and 1, the audits of the grant programs. 1, the compliance requirements. A, the audit requirement. Each recipient of the grant administrative department exceeds not less than $500,000 of federal funds during the fiscal year shall submit administration a copy of organization-wide financial compliance and audit report under this chapter 75 of the Title 31 United States Code. B, the access information of the Department of the recipient grant administration of the department shall provide comptroller any officer employees the government accountable office is within full access information regarding the activities carried related to the grant administration aided by the department. Improper payments are consistent with the Improper Payments Information Act of 202 and 31 U.S. Standard Code 3321 for each year of the grant program under the sections 203 and 204 of the titles and the section 662 of the Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 206 and 6 United States Code 7062 shall specify policies and procedures for the identifying activities funding under any grant program and that are susceptible to and significantly improper payments and reporting improper payments in the department agency program review and in general not less than once once every 2 years the administration shall conduct for each state and high urban area receiving grant administration by the Department of Problematic and Financial Review of all grants awarded for the Department of the Grant prepare and protect against and respond to natural disaster, acts of terrorism, man-made disasters, excluding assistance provided under the Section 203 and Title 4, Title 5 of Emergency Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief Emergency Assistance Act 42 U.S. Standard Code 5133 5170 at 10 sequence 5191 at 10 sequence. B. Contents. Each review of subparagraph A shall be a minimum examine whether the funds awarded were used in accordance with the law, program guidance, and states' homeland security plans and applicable plans, and to the extent which the funds award enhance ability to grant the prevent, prepare, and protect against responding to natural disasters, act of terrorism, other man-made disasters. C. The authorization and appropriation in addition to the amounts of authorized and appropriated to the administrator, the authorized to be appropriated to the administrator for the reviews under the paragraphs 8 million for each fiscal year of 2008, 2009, 2010. Each sums is necessary for fiscal years 2011, each fiscal year thereafter. 3. Office Inspector General performance audits in general in order to ensure the effective appropriate use of grants administered by the department. The Inspector General Department each year shall conduct audits into the sample of state high-risk urban areas that receive the administration of the Department of the Grant prepare, protect, respond to the national disaster act terrorism other than made by the disaster, excluding assistance provided under the Section 203, Title 4, Title 5, Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act of Title 42, U.S. Standard Code 5133, 5170 and sequent, and 5191 and 10 sequent. Determine the samples selected in audits in paragraph A and shall be an appropriate size to if the access to integrity in the grant program describes in subparagraph A the act of deterrent to financial mismanagement and selected basis of the service of the grants awarded to the receipt in the past of the grant management of the performance of the recipients and concerning and identify the administrator, including the referrals of the from the administrator, and such other facts as determined by the Inspector General in the department. See comprehensive auditing during the 7 years effective date prior to the beginning of the date and enactment and implementing recommendations of the Line 11 Commission Act of 2007. Inspection General the department shall conduct no fewer than one audit of each state have received, and under the grant under the Section 203 and 204 report of the Inspector General. In general, the Inspector General of the department shall submit an appropriate commitment of the Congress and annual consulted report of the audits and completed with official years before the date of the report's contents. Each report submitted under the clause of 1 and shall describe the official years before the date of the report 1, and if the audit is conducted under subparagraph A, 2, the findings of the inspector within the respect of the audits conducted with the subparagraph A, whether the funds were used in accordance with the law, program, guidance, and the state homeland security plan or other applicable plans, the extent in which the found and awarded, and the ability to grant, prevent, and prepare and protect or respond to natural disasters, acts of terrorism, other man-made disasters. 2, 3, the deadline for each year of the report required under the clause 1 shall be submitted not later than December 31st. Public availability on the website. Inspector General of the department shall make each audit of the conducted under the subparagraph A and available on the website of the Inspector General, subject to redaction as the Inspector General determines necessary to protect the classified and other sensitive information. F. The provision of the information of the Administrator and Inspector General of the Department shall provide the Administrator any findings or recommendations from the audits conducted under the subparagraph A. G. The evaluation grants management over the site not later than 1 year after the date of enactment, implementing recommendations of the 9/11 Commission Act of 2007, and Inspector General of the Department shall review, evaluate the grant managements and oversight of the practices of Federal Emergency Management Act, or otherwise FEMA, including assessment and recommendations relating and is the skills, resources, and capabilities of the workforce, and any additional resource staff necessary to carry out the management and oversight. H. The authorization and appropriation in addition to the amounts authorized to be appropriated to the Inspector General and the Department are authorized to appropriate the Inspector General of the Department for audits in the subparagraph 8,500,000 for each fiscal years of 2008, 2009, 2010, and in such sums of necessary fiscal years of 2011, each fiscal year thereafter. Performance assessment in order to ensure the states of high-risk urban areas are using grants administered by the department appropriate to meet the target capabilities prepared and priorities. Administrators shall ensure that such state high-risk urban area conducts participate in exercise in section of the 848 Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 2006, United States Code 748B, and use of performance metrics in accordance with the comprehensive assessment system under the 649 Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 2006, United States Code 749, ensure that each state of the high-risk urban area regular tests progress against such metrics and exercise required under subparagraph A. Use of remedial action management program under the 650 Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 2006, United States Code 750, and ensure the state receiving the grant administration department submitted a report of the administrator in the level of preparedness is a required section of 652 in Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 2006, United States Code 752, consideration, assessment, and condition of the proceeding program, reviewing performance audience in paragraphs 2, 3, administration and inspector general 2. The department shall take into account the performance assessment elements required under the paragraph 4. Recovery audits. The administrator conducted the recovery audits is a term defined as director of office and management budget under the section 352, 3561 and of Title 381 United States Code for any grant administrated department of the total value of not less than $1 million for the administrator funds as a financial has identified improper payments that can be recoupled, and cost effective to conduct a re-audit is to be captured at target remedies and non-compliance in general result of review and audit in subsection otherwise administrator finds recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administrator finds the recipient of grant under the title has failed to, and the administ substantially comply with any provisions of the law within any regulations or guidelines of the department regarding eligible expenditures of the administration shall one reduce the amount of payment of the grant funds recipient of the amount equal to the grant funds that were not properly expended to the receipt. 2. The limit of the use of grant funds to the program projects and activities not affected by the failure to comply. 3. Refer to the material to the Inspector General of the Department of Further Investigation. 2. For the department terminate payment grant funds to be made by the recipient. 5. Take such action of the administration to determine appropriate duration penalty. Administration shall appropriate penalty under subparagraph A until such time the administration determines that the grant recipient in full compliance with the law and applicable guidance regulations in the department. B. Reports of grant receipts. Quarterly reports of Homeland Security spending in general condition receiving a grant under Section 203, 204 high-risk urban area directly eligible tribe not later than 30 days after each federal fiscal year quarter, and submit to the administration reporting activities that are performing in grant fundings and during fiscal quarter. Contents and reports submitted under the subparagraph A shall minimum include for the applicable state of high-risk urban area with directly eligible tribe in each subparagraph thereafter. The amount obligated to the receipt under the subparagraphs 203 and 204 in that quarter. The amount of the funds received and expended under the section 203 and 204 the receipt in that quarter. 3. A summary description of expenditure made by the receipt, so using such funds as the purpose which such expenditures were made. See end of the year report. The report submitted under subparagraph A by the state of high risk urban area and directly eligible tribe relating to the last quarter of any fiscal years. 1. The amount of the date of receipt all funds received under the grant during the fiscal years. 2. The identify of the amount provided to any sub-grantee during the fiscal year. 3. The amount of dates of the disbursement such as funds expended by the which section of 2021A 1 under the mutual aid of the agreements of other sharing agreements that apply to the statement of the high-risk urban areas directly eligible tribe is applicable during the fiscal years, and how the funds were used to the recipient sub-grantee during the fiscal year's annual report. Any state annual applying to the grant under section 204 shall submit the administrator and annually a state preparedness report and a required section 652C of Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 2006 United States Code 752C. Reports of the administrator federal prepared reportness. The administrator shall submit the appropriate commitments of Congress. Annual federal prepared reportness required under the section 652 the Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 2006 United States Code 752A. Risk assessment in general for each fiscal year. The administration shall provide an appropriate committees for the Congress detailed and comprehensive explanation of methodologies used to calculate the risk and computate the allocations of funds of granted department. The department included all variables, included the risk assessment weights assigned to each such variable, and 2. Explanation of how much each such variable is weighted correlates to risk. A basis included in correlation. Any change in the methodology from the previous fiscal years, including changes in variables, consider weighting in those variables computational methods. Classified annex information required subparagraph A and provided unclassified greatest extent possible may be included in classified annex to necessary deadline for each fiscal year's information required for the subparagraph A shall provide either provided earlier of October 31 and 30 days of the issuance of 30 days before issuance of any program guides of grants administered by the department. Public Law 11053, August 3, 2007. Tribal funding report. At the end of the fiscal years, the administrator shall submit the appropriate commitment to Congress, setting forth the amendment funding and provided in other fiscal years of Indian tribes under the grant program administered by the department, whether provided directly through the sub-grant from the state and the high-risk urban areas. Section 102, the amendments to Homeland Security Act of 2002, National Advisory Council of Section 508 of the Homeland Security Security Act of 2002, 6 United States Code 318B is amended by 1. By striking the national advisory with the first place of the term appears, inserting the following. In the general national advisory, B. Adding to the end of the following. 3. Consulting of the grants to ensure the input of the in coordination state, local, and tribal governments and emergency response providers. Administrators shall regulate consult work of the National Advisory Council Administration. Assignment of the grant programs. Demand administrator of the department include the respective development program guidance and development evaluation risk methods and as appropriate evaluation planning. Section 5.112.5a of the Homeland Security Act of 2002, 6 United States Code 321A B 5a is amended by inserting including elderly and after needs. Section 103, Amendments of the Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act, Funding Efficies. Section 652A2 of the Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 2006, United States Code 752A2 is an amendment in subparagraph C of the striking and is the end of subparagraph D, and the striking period is the end of the inserting and the ending and the adding into the at the end of the following. An evaluation of the extent within the grants administrative department of including the grants under this Title 20 of the Homeland Security 202 and have contributed to the progress of the state, local, and tribal governments in achieving the target capabilities, and 1. Having a reduction of the risk of natural disasters, acts of terrorism, other man-made disasters, national and state, local, and tribal jurisdiction. State prepared reportness from Section 652C2 of the Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 2006, and 6 United States Code 752C2D is amended by striking an assessment and resource and needs and ensuring discussion of the extent of which target capabilities identified in applicable state homeland security bylaw other than applicable plans remaining unmet and assessment of resources needed. Section 401 or Section 104, Section 104, Public Law 121, Stat 294, Section 104, Technical Conforming and Amendments. A. In general, the Homeland Security Act of 2002, 6 United States Code 101 Intent Sequence, 6 United States Code 59.1 by residing the in Title 8 as added by the Safe Port Act of Public Law 109-347, 120 Stat 1884 as title is 19 United States Code 6 United States Code 591 Intent Sequence 2 be redesignated sections 1801 and 1806 is added by the Safe Port Act of Public Law 109 and 347, 120 and 184 as a section of 901 through 906 respective. 6 United States Code 59.4, 3 Inspection 904 redesignated striking section of 1802 inserting section 902. 6 United States Code 596 and section 1906 designated striking section 1802. Each place of the term appears as inserting section 902A and in the table contents in section 1 and B by the striking of the time items relating to the section 18 and section 1801 through 1806 and the added Safe Port Act of Public Law 109, 347, 120, 1884 inserting the following. Then it goes on to Title 19 Domestic Nuclear Detection Office, Section 1901 Domestic Natural Nuclear Detection Office, 1902 Mission of Office, 1903 Higher Authority, 1904 Testing Authority, 1905 Relationships with Department and Needs of Federal Agencies, 1906 Contracting Grants and Authorities, Title 20 Homeland Security Grants to the 2001 definitions. The Subtitle A, grants to the states of high-risk urban areas. 202, Homeland Security Grant Program. 203, Urban State Area Security Initiative. 2004, State Homeland Security Grant Program. 205, grants to direct eligible tribes. 204, Terrorism Prevention. 207, prioritization. 208, use of funds. And Subtitle B, grants administration. And Subtitle Sec 2021, administration coordination. Section 2022, accountability. Title 2, emergency management performance grants. I'm gonna stop.